Well, we've had a lovely break over the past few weeks, but it's time for us to get back to work for a brand new season of the PSA World Tour. And if the last 12 months are anything to go by, we've got an incredible season on the way. So many new players are breaking through the ranks and challenging the legends at the top of their game. There are so many tournaments, so many players, and so much squish that we understand that it can get overwhelming. So here are our picks for the top 10 players you should keep a close eye on in the upcoming season. But hey, before we start this list, we'd really appreciate you liking this video and subscribing to SQUASHTV. Number 10. Kenzy Ayman. The rest of the world may have put a dent in the armour of Egyptian dominance through the likes of Paul Cole and Diego Elias, but there is still plenty of young players coming out of Egyptian clubs and making their mark on the World Tour. 18-year-old Kenzy Ayman recently made her platinum debut on the biggest stage of them all, the World Championships. Not fazed by the pressure of the biggest stage in squash, she claimed an impressive 3-love victory over England's Jasmine Hutton, and then found herself in the firing line of the Warrior Princess, who's gunning for the championship trophy after just coming back from an injury and losing her world number 1 status. But to be fair to Ayman, she stepped into the lion's den and gave us a great match, even taking a game off Sherbini in a tiebreak. If that's the kind of debut she can make on the World Tour, you can bet she's got an interesting career ahead of her. Number 9. Rory Stewart. Scotland's Rory Stewart has been a mainstay on the Challenger Tour for a few years now. Flying under the radar compared to his compatriots, his laid-back style of squash has been both a help and a hindrance to him. Then, the Commonwealth Games came around this summer and he finally showed us his true potential. In a team full of World Tour veterans, he stood out by taking out England's top player at the event, Patrick Rooney, in an epic 5-game set. Then after that, he took the legendary James Willstrop all the way down to the wire, only just losing out on a medal opportunity after 5 games. Scottish squash is looking very strong at the minute, and Rory Stewart has cemented himself as a name not to be missed in the coming season. Number 8. Satomi Watanabe. The Japanese national champion, Satomi Watanabe, had an impressive season last year, playing in 8 tournaments, reaching the finals in 6, and then winning 5 overall. Her win at the University of Birmingham Open secured her a place at the PSA World Championships, where she made her mark. Scoring her biggest win over England's Lucy Tamel in round 1, and then putting up a solid fight when she was left alone in a squash court against the leopard, Hania El Hammamy. She's definitely one to watch in the upcoming season as the world number 56 looks to cause more upsets as she features in more and more World Tour events. Number 7. Aly Abou Eleinen. Aly Abou Eleinen is another young Egyptian that's been on the rise recently, reaching world number 60 in just 11 tournaments. He made a big splash at the El Guna International. No, he didn't fall into the lagoon. Coming in as a wild card, he shook the seedings by beating the Hammer of Thor 3-1, and then beating India's Saurav Ghosal in an epic 70-minute 3-2. He's yet to claim his first PSA title, but after reaching 3 finals in his short career so far, it is surely only a matter of time. Number 6. Tinne Gilis. The younger Gilis sister had a bit of a rough start to the last season after tearing her calf at the British Open in August. Since then, however, she's gone from strength to strength, reaching the 3 Challenger 30 finals and getting to 2 Platinum quarterfinals. However, her highlights on SQUASHTV last season were definitely her battles with world number 1, Nour ElShorbagy. Pushing the Warrior Princess to 5 games twice, nearly causing earth-shattering upsets. This season, all eyes will be on her to challenge the top 10 women consistently with her fast-paced, clinical squash that we all love to watch. Number 5. Victor Crouin. French squash is in an interesting place at the moment, following the departure of legendary players Greg Gaultier, Camille Serme, and Colleen Omard from the World Tour. A rising star hoping to push into the top 10, Victor Crouin has racked up a few titles already. He also recently bested the current French number 1 Gregoire Marche in the final of the World Games this summer. A huge win for his career, and one that will set him up nicely for some great matches in the new season. Number 4. Nour El Tayeb. At the end of the 2020-21 season, Nour El Tayeb announced that she would be leaving the PSA World Tour temporarily while she was pregnant with her baby Farida, and her absence from the tour was sorely felt. And the world of squash was eager to see her come back when she finally returned to the tour at the CIB Squash Open Blackball in December. Not content with simply returning to the tour and playing a few matches, she proceeded to destroy almost everyone on the tour on the way to the semi-finals of the World Championship. So all eyes will be on her as she rejoins the top of the rankings. Number 3. Eain Yow Ng. Malaysia's number 1 should have an interesting season ahead of him now that SQUASHTV is returning to the Malaysian Open later this year. He'll be determined to get his second title at his home tournament after losing out to Miguel Rodriguez in last year's semi-final. Yow had a rough go of it last season, with disappointing results at a few events, usually getting an unfortunate draw that put him in the firing line of the likes of Mohamed ElShorbagy and Tariq Moment in the early rounds. But he has shown that he can challenge the top players in the past, beating Mustafa Rassal in last year's Egyptian Open, as well as putting up a great fight against Joel Macon at the Commonwealth Games this summer. He'll be looking to regain his spot at the top 20, and hopefully he can push further and higher in the tour. Number 2. Hania El Hammamy. To call Hania El Hammamy focused on reaching world number 1 is the understatement of the century. She is hell-bent on breaking through the stranglehold that Gohar and Shabini currently have over the women's tour. Strong words, but she has proved on multiple occasions that she is not to be messed with. Her abilities and notable growth on the squash court have gotten her 2 platinum titles so far this year, the British Open and the El Guna International, both against the Terminator in the finals. Shabini doesn't have an easy time against her either, being bested by her in the final of the Black Ball Open 2020, and also losing to the Leopard in El Guna. It can only be a matter of time before we see her reach the top. And number 1, Mohamed ElShorbagy. It has been a rollercoaster of a ride watching Mohamed ElShorbagy's season this year. There were some points where it felt like we'd seen the Beast's best matches behind him. Early round losses in Canary Wharf and Black Ball seemed to sap the life out of him. Mohamed knew that he needed to make some drastic changes, and it doesn't get more drastic than changing your nationality and asking your former arch-rival to become your coach. Towards the end of the season, it was announced that Mohamed ElShorbagy would be coached under former world number 1 and technically not even retired yet, Gregory Gaultier. It seemed to have paid off in the short term. When Mo entered the PSA World Championships, it was fair to say that expectations were rather muted. That was until he stepped on court with Paul Cole and finally let the beast back out. He shattered expectations with over 100 minutes of incredible squash against arguably the best all-round player at the time. He came so close to winning the whole tournament as well, taking Ali Farag to his limits. His end to this season has suddenly put a very interesting spotlight on him. What else can this new partnership bring? Is this second win sustainable? And can he finally regain his place at the top of the rankings? And that's our list. Who else should we be keeping an eye on in the next season? Let us know down in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more lists like this. And remember, you can watch all the action live and on demand with SQUASHTV.